This video is about the air compressor system and what I've learned when I swapped it over to a 4.0. Just a couple things that I've learned, and I'll show you how I have it hooked up. Well, the way that I have it hooked up. Okay. This is a York 210. You've probably seen me talk about this in some of my other videos. I pulled this out of a 1987 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I actually modified this and swapped the suction and discharge ports by pulling the dowel pins. There's one here and there's one here that locates the head to the valve plate to the cylinder. And basically all I did is I plugged the suction port for the main bearing right here with a screw coming up from the valley where the main bearing is. It gets lubricated by the crankcase too, so you don't need to worry about it. And I plugged it up here as well, so I could pressurize the suction side of this without blowing the seals out of the compressor. It's worked fine. I got basically a seal kit for, I couldn't find one for the Wagoneer, but I grabbed one for a late 70s AMC Matador. It's the same compressor, so they work just fine. It was kind of a cheaper kit, but I haven't had any problems blowing head gaskets or anything like that. This is a 50/30 clutch. I bought this from Ryder Fleet Products. It's controlled by one wire, which is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's down right there. I had to modify this. I had to actually make this bracket. Well, somebody helped me make this bracket to clear the hood. And even though I made it so I leaned it down as far as I wanted to, it still hit the hood, so I had to clearance the hood. It looks like crap, but I'm replacing the hood because it has a rot spot over there. When I do it again, I'll do the clearancing a little bit more elegantly. But one thing that I did do is I made this bracket out of 1/8 inch. And if you're making this bracket, this plate, this bolts in the space that the factory AC compressor bolts to, you should use thicker material than that. I would say minimum 1/4, because I was having a problem. I eyeballed the power steering pump pulley to this pulley, and one was bent in the opposite direction to the other one. This pulley was bending down like this. And I pulled it off thinking that it was just not substantial enough, and there were loads of cracks around these retaining bolts. So what we did is we welded up the cracks, and we put in, this is 3/8 just round rod to support it from here to here. And we also ran a piece here, and you probably can't see it, but there's also a piece down in the back right there. And it works fine. You can't wiggle the compressor around independently of the engine anymore. One thing problem that I did have is the clearance becomes a real big issue if you're running the factory forward plastic reservoir pump. This is a Saginaw pump. This is out of a 79 T-Bird, and it just barely has enough room. I actually modified this bracket. You probably can't see it. Actually, you can. That notch right there is for the factory forward plastic pump, so you can get at the reservoir cap, and it's just barely. It's quite a feat to get it out. Got a pressure switch, and it's down right next to this check valve on the pressure side, so the tank side. And I need to add an unloader to this because the head leaks and it causes it to slowly lose pressure. That line runs back to this tank right here. This is out of a 1.5 deuce actually, and it fits perfectly. It's got one port in the middle on the back, one on the bottom, and one on each end. One runs to my air chuck right there. Yeah, it's pretty, I know. The other one runs up into the cab to my gauge, which is right there, and it also runs to this, which is actually a lanyard valve for these. So, and this right here, I don't know if you can hear that click, is the switch that makes the compressor live, and once you flip that switch, it's completely automatic. It's just like the shop compressor that you may have at your house. It just turns off and on as it requires pressure. It's 100 on, 120 off, and these compressors are capable of going well over 200 psi and blowing everything that you have apart. So you're going to want to run a pressure relief valve on it just to be safe. I mean, you want to run that anyway, but hopefully that clears up some stuff about that. Bye.